Thank you, Erin. Thank you, everyone, for having me. It's such a pleasure seeing all of these colorful faces sitting together and here for a common cause. Last year, we kicked it off with a march for George Floyd. And it was a very, very sad moment, of course. As all of you have just experienced, sitting on your knee. Some of you may not have been able to, and that's okay. I stood on my knee, and it was hurting me. It hurt me a lot. So much so that I got emotional. So emotional that it brought up things that happened to me in my past. It brought up things that I've seen happen to other people that I didn't even know. That I walked down the street and just seen it happening to them. As you sat here with your knee on the floor for 8 minutes, over 8 minutes. I can't even tell you the exact time because I never want to remember it, ever in life. Me sitting there on my knee, all I could think about was, how could someone lie, forcefully put your body part on another person's body part for over 8 minutes? That's what I just felt. And I've been to many of George Floyd protests, and I've never done that part because it's been so emotional. It's hard to do that. How can you do that? How can you say, oh, he was just a crackhead? He was just a criminal. He deserved it. How can you say that? How can you think that? And when I say you, I'm not talking about you in particular. I'm talking about society. Because guess what? That's how society is. And unfortunately, a lot of things in society that we see, it gets ingrained into our minds. And that's what we go on. But that's not the way that it has to be. All these pictures that you see up here today, unfortunately, they died because of police violence. But guess what? These are not half of the people that have died because of police violence. And let's just really talk about it. Is it police violence or is it systematic racism? Because it's not only in the police departments, it's in our government, it's in our department stores, it's in all of our companies, whether they are public or private. We have very few black leaders. And guess what? The ones that we did have, they killed. Let's not forget about that. They killed Martin Luther King. And it's a fact. His family sued the government and won. Because they were the reason that he died. He was assassinated by a white man. But guess what? He didn't die because of the assassination. Do you know why he died? He died because in the hospital, a white doctor refused to save him. So Martin Luther King would be here even after that attempted assassination. If it wasn't for the white doctor that said, I will not save a nigger. Yeah, I said it because you guys need to hear exactly what he said. That's what it was. I've been forever covering things up because that's what society is. You be quiet. You don't say anything. You mind your business. But at 39 years old, I can't do that anymore. A long time ago, I stopped being able to do that. In grade school, they would teach us things. They would teach us history. The only thing we learned about black people was that we were slaves. We didn't ever learn that we were kings and queens, that we owned property, that we owned land, nothing. This is what we learned about ourselves. But guess what? There's a few states right now that are fighting to even get that taken away. They don't even want you to know that slavery existed. And unfortunately, that's all that black people fucking have. I'm sorry. That's all that black people have. That's our history. We have no language. We have no real culture because it's been stripped of us. So we fight every day to find out who we are. And still, we come from the bootstraps. We climb ourselves out like crabs in a barrel to try and make it in society. And guess what? As soon as we start making money, as soon as we start making something for ourselves, what do? They change the rules. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the changing of the rules. Let me tell you something. The conviction of Derek Chauvin does not cancel out police violence towards black people. As it was said earlier, it was a way to make us look the other way, as it is most times in society. The thing about society is that if you have a person that speaks loud enough or can convince you easily, it's easier to look the other way. When I was younger, I used to watch movies a lot. I loved movies, as every other kid did. And something that I noticed that was a common thing in all of the movies, because most of them were white when I was younger. Now it's a lot more black movies, but most of them, when I seen it, there was a common theme of a white kid gets in trouble and the cops bring them home to their house. So me being a young, naive kid, I thought, oh, if something happens, the cops gonna bring me home. Right now, home would seem like jail for all these people. They would rather be in jail than where they are. Because guess what? They never got taken home. It was never a call for them. It was never nothing. It didn't matter. Why? Because they were black. This happens in New York, in every state in the United States, and also every country. Black people are treated differently. It's unfortunate because guess what? We have a lot to contribute to society, which we do. But a lot of times it's whitewashed. And it's made to seem like we were not the original contributors of it. And that's something that I cannot stand for. I heard a quote today. It was from, well, I'm not sure if it was from him, but I seen it on his Instagram. So I'm gonna repeat it to you guys. It was from Will Smith. He said, "It's not your fault if something is broken, but it's your obligation to fix it." When I was in college, one of my professors said to me, and I guess he thought it was a joke because he laughed afterwards. He said, "Class," he was my history teacher in college. He said, "Class, my daughter is a little bit confused." So we all said, "Why? Why is she confused?" She's confused because she feels like she was not a slave owner. She doesn't know if her grandparents or great parents or anyone that she ever even knew was a slave owner. And he laughed. He laughed. That was my professor. And to me, it seemed like ignorance was bliss. And he was blissfully accepting it. If you feel like you've never experienced it, maybe it wasn't in your family. I mean, I don't know my family that were slaves, but I know that they were. So what are we gonna do? Are we gonna make a joke about it? Or are we going to fix it? Let's start with the criminal justice system. Let's start with how there is a separate system for arresting black people. Do you notice how when black people are arrested, they're immediately pulled down to the ground? Even if it's not a knee on their neck, they're pulled down to the ground. You have to submit. Why? I've never seen a white person arrested, even with guns, that have been pulled down to the ground. So why is it only black people? It's something that you have to question yourself about, and it's something that you have to question your whole community about. Anyone that's around you. If you know someone that's in law enforcement, question them about that. Let's know what happens. You want me to finish? Okay. She wants me to finish. So I have to say sayonara to you guys. But I'm going to just say my last point. Yeah, of course. Because I feel like it hurts so very much. And I feel like there's a lot of people that want to help. And I want to do something. And maybe you don't know what to do. Or you don't know how to help. A way that you can help is by, as everyone said before, starting a conversation. Start a conversation within your family. Guess what? It wasn't us that had slaves. But guess what? Our ancestors did. It wasn't me that was a slave. But guess what? I've been called a nigger by the cops. I've been stopped and pulled over with guns. My house right here in Roosevelt Island has been raided by the police. And I'm not a drug dealer. I'm a college graduate that holds a full-time career and have my own business. And still, when they were called and told that it was a drug dealer in there, they didn't care. They didn't ask any questions. They ran into my house. And not only did they run into my house on Roosevelt Island, but they came off the roof, jumped through my windows, smashed them. Every single college book that I had was destroyed because they said that I was a drug dealer. And guess what? They said not only that I was a drug dealer, but I was being held captive in my house. But the kicker is I was not home. I was out shopping. So when I came home and see my entire building evacuated, I'm like, well, what happened? They said, oh, Eneaqua, you're being held hostage. Really? They had a robot go into my house because they said that I had guns. They never found a gun. They never found a drug. They never found anything because I was just a college student attending John Jay College of Criminal Justice. That's it. I just want everybody to be a little bit more mindful, try and work together, and do what we can. Because there are too many George Floyds. And I do not want my son to be the next one. Thank you.
Thank you so much.